I just had a comment on one of my videos regarding Canadian banking and income tax and bankruptcy and inspired I am, I think it is. Inspired I am. I love, love, love you to begin with. Like, I think we could be real good friends. I was real dumb for blocking you. But anyways, we'll get on to, you made a really, really important comment to me, and it's a comment where I tell you how things are, and that's kind of what my channel is all about, is I'm trying to explain truth. And the most insulting thing, and I know you don't mean insulting, but it's when somebody else comes to me and tells me how they think it works. And it's like, how do you know? How do you know how the system works? Have you had experience with it? Have you seen your neighbors, that are in the same similar situation? I mean, they have a lot of money. Are you neighbors with anybody that has a lot of money? Most of how you get away with this is by being a company. So are you friends with anybody that has a corporation, that they own a business? And then did they get divorced and didn't want to pay their child support? And then talk to, the parent that has the kids and see if they're actually collecting child support. Child support opened my eyes to everything that's going on. And this is something that nobody ever wants to talk, is child support. But we'll all bitch and complain that first of all, can you even find a job? There are a lot of people that can't find a job. Well, you don't give a shit about the female, the mother looking after children, and they can't find work. And it is a difference between male and females, because males can get jobs and get higher paying jobs a lot faster, a lot easier than women. So I will say mothers do have it a hell of a lot worse than single fathers that are dealing with the same thing, but that's not to say single fathers aren't dealing with the same issues. But even when you're dealing with this level of abuse, you can't work at these high-paying jobs. I went to school taking programming. I was good at it. Could I go and enjoy that career? No. This guy, I was in court constantly. That's the deal, is these guys can take you to court 24/7 and sit there and say, I don't give a shit about the law. I'm going to be here day in and day out. Can you afford to be in court? Can you afford to pay for a lawyer to be in court every day that I take you to court? That's the insanity, is you're trying to feed your children. At the same time, you got to be in court 24/7, and you got to kind of know the law. So you got to kind of know the law. You got to be in court all the time. You got to be at a full-time job all the time. And in my case, I had 4 kids. They all needed more of their parent at that time. And trust me, I sucked at every one of them, because every one of them, I had the crisis line on speed dial. And the only thing that they would tell me is prioritize. Pick an order of what's more important. The kids. Okay, kids. Prime importance. Okay, but in order to keep my kids safe, they got to have food every day. So that becomes the priority with the kids. That, okay, it was in school. I had to go to school for a year. That had to take my top priority. The other jobs at the factory, after I found out that I couldn't do a programming job and keep focus on this level of abuse, because it was coming at me from every friggin' angle. But my work then means that that's just as much priority as my kids. So I had to split that up both ways, because they both mean the same thing, but they both have different tasks. So it's like nobody in the mental health environment would be able to pick which one was less important. And then court. Pick one person that would say that going to court, because I was being ordered to pay child support, so it was going to come off my income that I made to feed my kids who lived with me. I had court orders that said I needed to pay child support. So which one person wouldn't say that in order to care for my kids and put them number one, that I didn't have to show up in court all the time? It's an insane game. And these companies don't have to declare all their income as personal income tax. So whatever money they make through their business expenses, all of a sudden their car is an expense, their houses, everything is a business expense. So their businesses are giving them a huge lifestyle. Their clothing, every single thing that takes you to live is a business expense. One way or another, they get away with it, and they end up bringing into court, oh, I only made $5 that year. And then they base child support on that figure. This is extremely common. This happens in the United States. I've heard people tell me the exact same story, and it's extremely common in Canada. And for your mind not to break under those conditions, I can't see how that's humanly possible. That's why it's such a passion for me that it may seem like I'm bitching about my past or about child support issues. That ain't the case. This is fucking up our children, that our children need to even deal with this. Primary, that is my biggest beef, is there are thousands, millions of children that are being neglected. I mean, we can talk and talk about how the economy is crashing and everything, but you know what? Our kids are watching this. These are like 10-year-old kids that are watching parents say the world's coming to an end. What does that do for a kid? I know I was raised when we were scared of nuclear weapons between Russia and the Americans. You know, we were duck and hide all the time when we were kids. That's no way to grow up. So that is a prime issue. Knowing that there are females that can't make it, and they are now labeled mentally ill. And we want to see the shooting politicians. It's like your mind cracks and you will be labeled as having a mental illness, because that's like beating the crap out of you, but beating your brain, physically beating the crap out of your brain and then expecting your brain to function. It's torture. And there's how many people all over the planet. Most of them, when you see third world countries or you see, you know, kids that are hungry, who do they live with? Usually a female, a mother. That is the bottom of the food chain. We don't have equal rights. That is such a friggin' joke. The only thing equal is that if I'm working, well, even if I'm working on an assembly line, doing the exact same work, I've seen guys get higher income than me. You know how they do that? By going over your work review. All of a sudden, you're never ever a good worker as that male. You know, like so many crap. I mean, workers' compensation, that's a joke. Any labeling that's on any product that says it's safe, that's a joke. I was making the airbags where we had labels on them of how safe they were. These guys didn't give a shit. There was so much harassment going on in that building that employees were using the very products that they're trying to produce to be part of the harassment, the joking around, the setting up of each other. You know, they would destroy parts hoping that it got caught in safety so you get written up. You know, but a lot of these don't get reported. They go through the line and act as if it's safe. We're supposed to fill out charts. Every hour we're supposed to test shit. Nobody does it. They filled out their sheets before they even started working. Full 8 hours worth of paperwork that's done before you've even done the work to see whether anything has gone bad or not. And yet it gets the stamp of approval from your government that says it's safe. You know, I tried even reporting the way the documents were done. Trust me, people did not like me in that factory because the systems, every system of manufacturing was so fucked up. And they didn't even want a union in there and kept threatening that anybody do anything against our company, we're shutting down and moving to Mexico, where they didn't even have to pay income tax if they left the country. It was more profitable for them to leave the country. So, you know what? All of the employees were just like, it's hard to get a job, so we're not going to say anything about this company because we're lucky to have them. And that's what goes on with these corporate assholes, is they feel that we should be grateful to even have any work, as they drive around in their Mercedes or massive big house, divorce their wives and don't pay them a dime and let their children starve. It was a $1 million oil field company that lied about my husband's income. When this guy was pleading poverty, and I said, I presented a land title that was well worth over $300,000 after the guy just claimed bankruptcy. And his employer showed up at court with a document that says that house was put in his name by mistake. If I didn't do the research I did, they would have never found that mistake. But that house did not belong to my husband. Bullshit. But my lawyer, legal aid attorney, says, oh, okay, we won't even mention it to the judge. So that's the kind of representation legal aid gets you, is I prove to my lawyer over and over and over again all of the lies, all of the financial lies that were being done by this $1 million corporation, which my ex-husband, this is how stupid it was. My ex-husband's attorney asked him while he was under oath that if I was threatening his employment at all, because I'm seeing the company do all of this shit, lie about everything. I'm representing myself, so I have to phone the company. They ended up getting a restraining order on me, which I didn't bother even fighting, which I'm not even going around them, never went near those people, but they were stalking my house. My ex would park in front of my house, question the kids as to why my curtains were closed all the time. I mean, I felt that, okay, put a restraining order, at least I can call the police every time he's parked outside and maybe something will be done. But according to the laws and judges, they would look like I was the one harassing. No, I'm acting as an attorney and getting information from his employer. But anyways, his own attorney questioned my ex under oath and asked the question, was his employment at risk? And my ex answered, well, no. Actually, my boss didn't like paying his support, so he's doing everything in his power to help me out. That is a quote under oath of what my ex said, that this employer, that's $1 million oil field related company, will do anything, including lie about his income, lie about all the gifts that he got, and didn't have to pay his child support. I had to pay him $100 a month. Kind of lost my mind after that when I seen that it took me 9 years to fix this out, and I didn't even have a lawyer that presented any evidence, and I was ordered by a judge that I can't go in front of a judge unless I had a lawyer. This judge, prior to that, this would drive you insane, but it took me 4 years to get in front of a court. And then when I did, they kept putting it off all of the time. And there was no reason for it. This was completely illegal. A judge just was wanting to do what he wanted to do that was unjustified. The second time he ended up doing that, I asked for an interim child support, which he said no, and put it off again. And it's like, okay, me and my daughter were living in a shelter, like brokers and shit, and I went homeless because I was told that this matter was, I was in Ontario when this all happened, and I had an interim order that just needed to be confirmed. That judge ordered me to go to Alberta, so I lost my rent. I'm homeless. This guy is putting off the order all of the time. And then when it finally sees, and he orders me for the last time that I needed to get a lawyer, so I had to go through legal aid, who did not present any evidence whatsoever. The interim order did not look like anything that I was asking for when I was represented by a legal aid attorney. And they ended up dismissing all child support because it took me too long to get to court. It's like, fuck, you can't get to court because the judges don't want to hear any freaking cases, and then they say, oh, you don't have to pay your child support. Which Child support is worse than student loan. You can never get out of paying your child support, but here in Canada, they didn't pay attention to the laws. So this very much is global. It's not just Canada. It's everywhere. You might want to listen to somebody's story. Peace out.